Dan Illman, Matt Bernier, the feature race at Santa Anita on Saturday is the Grade 2 Twilight Derby. Let's take a look at this field of 3-year-olds going 1 1/8 miles on the turf. It's a big field. It is a competitive betting race. Let's start with the West Coast contingent. I mean, Sharp Samurai has been the boss of the 3-year-old turf horses in Southern California. He has won 3 straight races, including the Del Mar Derby, a race where probably about 3 to 5 wide for most of the way, and he still ran down several of these horses. If he runs his race, he's going to be right there at the wire. He's just as honest as the day is long.
Absolutely, and there's a part of me, I know maybe it's unlikely, but I would almost hope to see a mild improvement from him from what we saw at Del Mar. He's honest. He shows up, he runs his race. Gary Stevens really has done nothing wrong on him. And Eddie Point, you're right, he was wider than wide throughout 3, 4, 5 paths. And he stayed on, and to me, it just kind of felt like, and I'm not trying, I'm not knocking Big Score or Bowie's Hero. I just kind of felt like that last run in the Del Mar Derby proved that Sharp Samurai is just better than they are.
Big Score had his shot in the Del Mar Derby, like Sharp Samurai, a very consistent runner. Take out the Belmont Derby, he's usually there in all his races. He's a little bit less professional with his lead changes. Yeah. I didn't like that he hopped back to his left lead in his most recent start, but he gets back to Santa Anita where he won the Zuma Beach last year. And this is a horse that, as he's gotten older, has become a little bit more tactical, and I think it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't have to come from 100 out of it like he did early on. I guess the big problem that I have with Big Score is, where has the improvement come, or is it ever going to come? He's run 9 times now. Career best buyer last out with a 92, but he was running 90s early on as a 3-year-old. There's a part of me that wonders if for some reason you do get a forward move from a horse like Sharp Samurai or anybody else who we'll talk about, boy, Big Score is going to be up against it.
Bowie's Hero, 3rd in the Del Mar Derby, has won 3 stakes races in his career. He was coming with a little bit of a late run after an in-out trip under Diego Pereira. Now he gets the services of Kent DeZormo. His 2 best buyer speed figures have come at Del Mar. Do you make anything of that, or you just simply think this is now a 9-time starting 3-year-old who's beginning to find his own, and he will find his niche as a low to mid-90 buyer runner?
Yeah, that's kind of what I think he's going to ultimately end up being. He's won at Santa Anita, so it doesn't completely concern me that we're going away from Del Mar, but at the same time, he's another one. The Pennine Ridge is the one race where I would just draw a line through it and say that's not him. He was much too close to the pace. He is one. You want to take him back, make that one run. I think Kent will do that. There's a part of me that thinks, though, boy, I don't know that he's quite good enough to beat a horse like Sharp Samurai, and that's not including the imports.
The Timeform U.S. pace projector for this race has another Southern California-based runner on the lead. That's the number 1 Sistrone, who did not run in the Del Mar Derby. His most recent start came against a salty older runner in Blackjack Cat in the Obviously Mile. He didn't make the lead. He finished evenly. It was not a bad performance at all. But after 12 starts, his career best buyer is only 90. He is going to probably have to improve to win this race. That pace scenario might help him out, though.
I got to be honest. I think he's talented. I think there's something here. The problem is, that is fantastic. If you like this horse and you think that he's got a chance, I don't think he wants any part of 9 furlongs. I think he is much better. Look, I think even 8 is probably a little bit too far for him. Keep in mind, his best run to date came down the hill. I think he's a really talented turf horse. I don't think the distance works.
Doug O'Neill had the 2nd and 3rd place runners on the Timeform U.S. pace projector. The stretch-out sprinter Ann Arbor Eddie making his turf debut, and Dangerfield, who is listed as a first-time gelding. We've always liked Ann Arbor Eddie as a really courageous, hard-hitting Calbred at shorter distances. I think 1 1/8 miles is far for him. I need him to cut back before I can take him seriously at this level.
100%. Couldn't agree more. The distance I don't think works for him at all. You go back to the El Camino Real Derby. The only reason he lost there, because he was getting drifty at the end and he was tired.
And as for Dangerfield, I think there are big class questions. Now, maybe he'll be a new horse if he is a first-time gelding in this race, but career best buyers of 80, beaten in an optional claimer last time out in his turf debut. Where's the improvement coming? It's going to be the biggest price on the board. I want to dissuade anybody who likes this horse, but he needs something different to happen because he's kind of a pace horse also.
Yeah, I've always liked him, but I have to admit, right now he's just not all that fast, and right now he's not good enough to win in a field like this.
Trouble with a T is interesting for Phil D'Amato. This is a horse that's come back this form cycle with 2 wins on turf. All of his turf races are good. I like his mid-pack running style. My one issue is a little bit slow on paper. He's facing a pretty salty field, but this is a horse. He wants to beat you when he gets into a dogfight late.
I think the interesting thing, too, about the buyers anyway, you look at that most recent run when he beat Ken Koeman. Ken Koeman came back to win next out with an 86. So if you think that there's going to be some sort of just forward progression, and again, his past 2 races, he's earned 83 and 82 buyers. If you think he can move up to a high 80, I don't know if it's enough to win, but it at least makes him competitive.
Let's talk about the shippers now, beginning with the number 2, Cowboy Culture. Florent Giroux is aboard. This is a horse that's won several stakes races. He took the Arlington Classic 2 starts back. He just got a perfect trip to win that race. He was simply better than those horses in the $200,000 Centaur. He's a horse with a versatile running style that can work out a good trip. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets another pocket situation here, just drafting in behind Sistron when they go into the first turn. And he has a fig from 2 starts back. I guess he's good enough to win this race. I've never been a big fan, but when you win 5 of 7, you got to respect that.
You know what the thing about him that kind of just makes me a little bit concerned is that I feel like the only 2 fields of real quality that he ran against, he didn't pass the test. You go back to Gulfstream in the Palm Beach, Ticonderoga, I know he hasn't panned out really, but you've had a couple of decent runners in there, and then you had that next start in the Transylvania where, again, against Big Score and Holiday Stone, some of these other ones, I didn't think he passed the test. Against weaker company, I think he's okay. I think he's in tough.
Let's talk about the 2 horses that share the co-best last Beyer speed figure in this race, beginning with the 8. Channel Maker, who won the 3rd jewel of the Canadian Triple Crown, the Breeders' Stakes, as the favorite, going 1.5 miles, 2 starts back. And listen, he was just overmatched in his first start against older horses, the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic. He fits very well at this level. I kind of like him at slightly longer distances. You like him on the cutback.
Yeah, I have to be honest. I like this horse. I think he's very interesting in here. The big thing for me, I think he won the Breeders just because he was that much better than the rest of that field. Simply at 1.5 miles, I don't think he wants to go that far, and he was hung just impossibly wide that day. And the Turf Classic, I'm not holding that against him. The Queen's Plate for me was the kind of race where I looked at and said, I know it was synthetic, but maybe the distance isn't going to be his friend. You go back to the Marine, he got a little bit tired at the end. I think 1.1 miles is really what he wants at this point in his career. Could be entirely wrong. You may be right. Maybe distance is his friend, but I think he's got a big chance in here.
Just Howard has won 4 in a row in Maryland, won the Commonwealth Derby last time out, and he ran down a short price loose favorite in Voodoo Song to do it. He got a really nice trip drafting in behind Voodoo Song. He eased out, but he ran that horse down and showed a lot of guts in the lane. Perhaps most importantly, 2 of his wins have come at 1.1 miles. He's got a great tactical gear. Can he step it up against the big boys?
Boy, if you just want to watch the tape, I think he can. I think he's got a big chance in here. I think the other thing that you have going for you, if you like Just Howard, I think from a trip standpoint, he may be one of the first ones to take this thing over, and you know the distance isn't going to be a problem. You know what the problem with this horse is going to be? I think he's a buzz horse. I think a lot of people are on him. Mike Watchmaker's on him. Brad Free is on him. I think there's a chance that you're looking at him as the 3rd, maybe 4th choice in that 5-6 to 1 range.
But we're not on him. As we see with our selections for the Grade 2 Twilight Derby, you're going to go with Sharp Samurai. Listen, he's the gatekeeper of this division in Southern California. You got to beat him to get to the top, and he's got the tactical gear that's probably going to, he can adapt to any kind of pace situation.
He's run well when he's forwardly placed. He's run well coming from off of, again, Stevens, and they have a good relationship here. I think there's a lot to like here. I will say, though, I was very torn between he and Channel Maker.
I think there's a chance that the pace is going to be a little bit faster than the projector projects, and I'm hoping that works to Profiteer's favor. This is a horse that started out his career like he was a good thing. He ran over a wet course at Keeneland in the Transylvania. He didn't run very well. A lot of things that happen on that Keeneland turf course I don't pay attention to. It's a horse-for-course situation. Plus, this horse went away for a very long time.
Sure.
He came back at Saratoga. He beat some salty older horses. You know, Sycamore Lane and Takith. There's some good, solid optional claimers. Last time out in the Commonwealth Derby, Edgar Pryor tried to follow Voodoo Song. He wanted to get out and couldn't. He was hemmed in at a key point turning into the stretch. By the time he got out, it was too late. Just Howard was in full flight after Voodoo Song. 3rd start of the layoff. Beyer tops in his last 2 races. I think Profiteer's going to get a setup for Mike Smith, and I'm hoping he can run him down late.
I tell you what, if they do heat things up a little bit more early on, I think he's got a big chance. We've talked about it here before on these shows, these previews. 93. I like paired up Beyers. I think you've got a forward move in there. Shug knows what he's doing, sending him out there. You get Mike Smith. That's never a bad thing. I'm going to be curious to see how far back he is, because the other thing to keep in mind, that run up at Saratoga, okay, he was 5th, but he was only about 2 lengths off of it. It's not like he was coming from way out. I'd like him to be a little bit more forward into it, because I think at that point, I think stamina is only, that's his friend. 1.1 miles, that's not a problem. I just don't want him coming from 5, 6, 7 lengths out of it.
Give me numbers.
I believe in here. I went 6, 8, 5, 3.
I'm going to go with the 9, Profiteer on top in the Grade 2 Twilight Derby. If you're playing the San Anita card from home on Saturday, you know the drill by now. DRF.com/fall. Promo code FALL300 equals $300 sign-up bonus for you. Approximate post time for the Grade 2 Twilight Derby, 4:30 Pacific on Saturday afternoon. Best of luck.